Aye.
My name is Christine Carlson. I was here today to submit my resume for the Board of Governors position at Lifeways. Can I present that to you?
You could say hi.
Oh, see, you got me all nervous now. So I'm just here to submit my resume, and I'm currently a Jackson County employee resident, and I am the guardian and parent of a young disabled adult. I've worked with Lifeways both as a consumer and a provider, which can add a valuable perspective into the strengths and challenges. I have passionate interest in advancing and improving programs in mental health and initiatives that support the disabled community. Just a little something short and sweet. I just thank you for your consideration.
Support it. Yeah, he already had a motion.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's... Yes. Hello. Hi, Carl Rice Jr. from Leone Township. And, well, 8 years, and it's the first time on this side of the county commission, so... It is. My townships, I was on this side quite a bit, as Commissioner Kennedy knows. Anyway, first business is I'm on the application for Region 2 AAA, and I noticed that Commissioner Bear has his name in there, and for a couple, 2-3 months now, I've been really hoping that a commissioner would be on there because Hillsdale and Lenawee have a commissioner on there. So I'd like to remove my name for consideration for Region 2 AAA. That's the first order of business. Thank you, Tony. Next one is, okay, and the next one is I'm also here for the Lifeway appointment. You probably see my application. I filled that out, put some information on there. As a county commissioner, many of you know I've worked very hard with Lifeways, just like I did as a county commissioner. We've done a lot of good work at Lifeways. Commissioner Mahoney knows that. He's on Lifeways himself, obviously. And a big part of what I like about my work at Lifeways is the fact that I have the opportunity to to work with a population of people that I have personally been around. I have professionally been around. I also would like to say that myself as a primary consumer and my wife as a secondary consumer, I have a passion for this type of work when it comes to working with the moderate to severely mentally challenged, as well as the emotional, intellectually disabled, our veterans, the SUD work we do, and so on and so forth. And I also like, another reason I'd like to be reappointed to Lifeways, or be on Lifeways as a consumer appointment, is the fact that I'm on the Community Mental Health Association board as an officer on the board, and have an opportunity at the state level to do a lot of advocacy for Jackson County for Lifeways, which I find is very important to our community. And so I would just like to have the opportunity to continue this moving forward, continue the hard work that I put in. I like to work together as a team. I also like to take a leadership position when necessary. And I appreciate your time, and it's good seeing a lot of you again. Thank you. Oh, did I get out like 3 minutes almost?
My name is John Clark, and I'm a current Lifeways board member, and I just wanted to reconfirm my application for reappointment. I've been with Lifeways for a year. I've enjoyed working on the various committees and the staff. A couple other things that I've done recently is I've re-injected myself back into the working population with Michigan Works, and I'll be working as a Jobs for Michigan grad coordinator through Jackson Public Schools and working with the at-risk population there. So respectfully, I'd like to be reconsidered for reappointment to the Lifeways. Thank you.
Aye. Which board are you speaking of?
Out there. There's four seats open, and you have 4 people who have applied. 2 for the general public, so you probably should take that first because you can only have one of those people on. You had John Clark, who's the existing, been on for a year, and you have the new applicant, and, I'm sorry, Christine, and who just passed you around her resume. You should decide that and move it to the full board. So you need a motion for one of them, or anybody would like to make a motion on that?
Support. Aye. So moved.
Support.
Aye.
If I'm in order, before we vote, if,
let's get a second.
Support.
okay. Now, with, and this is just for my understanding, can the chair entertain a motion about himself? Should the vote then move to? Okay, sure, okay. Thank you, I just wanted to be sure.
Be aware you are formally recognizing who the people are that you're sending to the full board. And as always, with all appointments, whether they are concurred by this body or chosen by the full board, somebody can be nominated from the floor on Tuesday night. So all you're doing is sending your recommendations. Now, I know 96% of the time, the recommendation is who the full board approves, but there have been in the past where someone has been nominated from the floor and they've become the representative on the committee assignment. So we're going with your recommendations to the full board. Everyone else's name, whether they made it or not, their application and resume will go to the Tuesday night packet, and if you so choose, you may nominate someone else. Even then, also, if you have someone else that you feel would serve even better in that position, that chooses to be that you want to nominate. Okay?
If you got one already. If we've done it, you have it. Aye. Support.
Any discussion?
Aye. Mr. Chair, I'll put my name in for that. Aye.
Good afternoon, Shannon Clevenger from Lifeways. Here to go over some highlights from the report you received in your packet this month. Just a reminder, we have a mental health summit that's going to be occurring at Bigger College. This is occurring on March 22nd, running from 8 to 3 o'clock. There is a link in the document that you received in your packet if you would like to register. It's open to the public. We're welcoming anyone to attend on topics such as gun violence, mental health in the Black church, veterans, substance abuse stigma, domestic violence, and LGBTQ. Also wanted to give some highlights around Central Michigan 211 and the top unmet needs for Jackson County in the month of January. The largest unmet need was regarding VITA sites, and that is for tax assistance. We also had requests for electric payment, shelters, property tax payment, rent payment. Also wanted to talk about our recent audit that we had. Midstate came down and completed an audit for us. We scored very high in that audit. We had a Medicaid event verification review during that audit. We scored an overall of 98.68%. The regional performance was 99.04%. The area of improvement identified is in documentation of the service date and the time that matches the claim date and the time of the service. So we're working on some upgrades regarding documentation and claim submission in our EMR to address this issue. That concludes the highlights. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Destiny Wilkins. I'm the new administrator at Jackson County Medical Care Facility. I just want to share briefly with you just a little bit of my background so you know that going in. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and I've been a licensed nursing home administrator since 2013. I've been in nursing home leadership for 9 years now. Whether it was in human resources in my previous employer or as the assistant administrator here at Jackson County Medical Care. So I started my adventure as the administrator on January 1st. So I just wanted to share that with you. I sent you quite a lengthy report. I promise I won't read it all word for word to you, but I just wanted to touch on some of the highlights. Transparency is a very big piece of who I am. I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to know that we're doing our job correctly. So it might be a little longer than you're used to. So I wanted to share a little bit about the financials from December of 2018. We did show a net loss in financials of $166,667 for the month of December. Part of that was due to low census. We were in the process of finishing our renovation project that month, which we had expected to be online and able to be filled in November. So that did play a piece in that, and we also had a period of about 10 days that we were unable to admit due to a survey denial of payment that was placed in from November 24th to December 9th. Unaudited financials for 2018 shows a net loss of $861,827, which we are working very hard this year to make sure that we are within budget. Ms. Kubinski had been coming to our board meetings, so I wanted to share a few things that I shared with her to make sure that we prevent that from happening this year. One of those things is we're doing daily admission meetings to ensure that our census gets up to budgeted census, and we're also I've given the directors access to their financial reports on an ongoing basis instead of at the end of the month, and we're hoping that that will help keep that from happening this year. On the people side of things, I just wanted to bring your attention to the overall turnover rate for 2018, which was 37.44, which is relatively low for our industry. It's a little higher than we'd like to see, but it is lower than the industry average. I also included some tables for you showing call-ins versus mandation, which again might be a little more information than you care to have. But I wanted to share this because this has been a big point of contention in healthcare, and how do we ensure that our residents have the quality of care that we need without mandating people over and over again where they're working excessively long hours. So I just wanted to show you that that trend for mandation has gone down for our facility. As far as quality goes, we are currently ranked as 3 stars overall. We have 4 stars in quality, so the 5-star measurement that CMS uses your survey score, which we average 2 stars in our survey score. It uses your quality score, which is where we are at 4 stars, and then our staffing score, which is at 5 stars. So we are going to be working on getting that last star in quality and hopefully slowly moving up those ranks. I also wanted to report that we did have a state surveyor on site on February 19th and the 20th that reviewed 2 facility-reported incidences and 3 complaints, and the surveyor exited with no concerns. Our renewal center, which was the renovated area that was paid for by taxpayer dollars, is up and running. Yes.
What level were those incidents at on the scale of A through E?
For the facility-reported
That's
incidents?
correct.
They weren't actually rated on that scale because we reported to the state.
Okay.
And so when they came to investigate, that's when they placed them on that scale. And because there was no concerns, they weren't placed on that scale because there was no citations related to them.
Okay, so we're not on watch or anything like that from the state?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think Mr. Beer-
What caused the November to January, the state not giving you approval? What made that approval 2 months later?
Well, part of that challenge with getting the renewal center up and running is, unfortunately, nobody's written a very good guide as to how you do that. So part of it was waiting for approvals from the fire marshal. Part of it was there was a few things that we needed to change, and then it took a while to get that resurvey scheduled with the Bureau of Fire Services. So that's what brought us to the end of December. And then in January, we believed that we had approval. However, the state of Michigan required an additional form be filled out that stated which rooms we were taking offline from upstairs and bringing downstairs to the new renovated section. So that was provided to a different agency within the state, and we didn't realize that both agencies needed that same paperwork. And so it took several days for that to be approved. And that's what led us to mid-January.
Were the delays in getting the fire marshal approval and other stuff related to delays in construction?
No, the construction was on time. But it was actually the surveys that held us back in getting things going.
Okay, I missed that.
Okay. I can answer more if you have more questions.
No, the state fire marshal, I've always found, responds quite quickly when you call them and say, we're ready, the construction's complete, we're ready for an inspection. I've found that they always are there very quickly.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why there was a delay with getting the fire marshal's approval.
Okay. And I will be completely honest with you, this was not my baby at that time, even though I was the assistant administrator. So there may be more nuance to it than what I realized. And I will look that information up and I can get back to you if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And so the only other thing that I was going to report, that right now our average census in the renewal center is averaging right around 11. We have a lot of admissions and discharges coming out of that area, so it is fully up and running. And we are meeting, our renewal center team meets every Friday to make sure that those processes are working and are in place. And if there's any changes before we go into the weekend, that everything's been addressed. And that is all for my report. Yes.
Girls from the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And number two, during those 2 months where the census was down, that's the peak of flu season in the elderly, okay, and so on. And the hospital was swamped with cases. It seems like you should be swamped with cases too.
Well, and I think, I agree with you that that's what makes sense. But I do think that having that period of time that we weren't able to admit from the state between November 24th and December 9th did play a role in that. And then we also couldn't admit to those 16 beds that were supposed to be moved offline to move into the renewal center. So we had, I think we could have been better than where we were, but I also know that we had a limit on reaching what the budgeted census was, because with those beds being offline, we weren't able to do that. The other piece of the survey part is we didn't actually get final clearance to know that we could readmit people until December 27th, even though the state said that we could start admitting on December 10th. They didn't tell us that until December 27th. So I think those were also contributing factors too.
And one other question. At the hospital, okay, and so on, I know this personally, this discharge planning nurse who goes around and talks to the patients and gives them their choices of nursing homes, okay? It may be wise to just sit down and have a conversation with them, because I remember when I was there, okay, medical care facility was always the last one, okay, that they recommended and so on. So that's just a point of advice.
Okay, thank you very much. I will certainly do that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Destiny.
Thank you.
Okay. Department of Health and Human Services.
Good afternoon. I'm Zoe Lyons, the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, and I have with me Darlene Leonard, who is one of my managers for our assistance payments workers. I'm on actually a lunch break from doing ACE training for 150 elementary school teachers for Jackson Public Schools, so I brought Darlene in case we run out of time or there's extra questions. So first on my report is about adverse childhood experiences training. Dr. Bob Powell, who is the CEO at Family Service and Children's Aid, and I are master trainers for the community around ACEs. And we are trying to integrate the ACE message in all the work of everyone in the community, including our commissioners. So I wanted to share that. We have free trainings in our community that are listed on the Nonprofit Network website. So if anyone is interested in learning more about it, you can go to that website and sign up for free training. And we are master trainers because we can train other people. So we're excited to let you know that we're training almost 30 other people to become trainers of ACEs in our community and outside of our community. But we're keeping the work moving forward. Just to touch on a couple of other things, Handle with Care, which you've heard about in the past, which is a program with law enforcement, schools, and our therapeutic providers, is moving from sort of a Jackson-centered organization to Lansing. The Department of Health and Human Services is taking over coordination of that program, and it is now in over 50 counties in the state of Michigan after starting in Jackson here just about 2.5 years ago. So that's something that the county can be proud of. Wanted to give an update about our Child Advocacy Center. That is where we do forensic interviews of children who are alleged to be victims of severe child abuse or sexual abuse. That building where that advocacy center is in place is over by the airport. It's actually almost in the parking lot of the new Mancino's restaurant. And we are expanding because we have so much use for that advocacy center that we're expanding it to have some additional therapy rooms and a new conference room. So we'll be doing some fundraising over the next couple of months to do that addition to that house. With regard to our poverty work in Jackson, We have a business resource network called JobStar, which I think you're all aware of. It embeds a Department of Health and Human Services employee that we call a success coach into businesses in the county, and it helps the employees deal with any emergencies that come up so that they don't have to leave work or they don't have to take days off. It could be an ailing parent, it could be a childcare issue or a flat tire that they can't afford to fix. But our success coach helps them work through that barrier so that they can stay employed, and then, of course, by staying employed, they can stay out of the world of poverty and welfare. We're doing so well with that first success coach and those businesses that we are able to expand it. So we have new businesses joining on, and we are going to have a second success coach in place in our community for that purpose. That's also due to some additional funding that Michigan Works has received, so they're a big partner along with us in United Way. Our universal caseload, which we were super excited about in August when it went live, has been a struggle for us, and Darlene works in that world, so she can attest to the struggle that it has been. We still, the state as a whole still believes that it is a viable way of doing business with our welfare population, but right now, it is causing folks to have very long waits on the telephone and in our lobby. It is causing long waits to get their cases open or renewed. As a result, there is a statewide plan, and Jackson, who is one of the UCL counties, is receiving help from other counties in the state to get us caught up, get people what they need when they need it, and then once all of the UCL counties are caught up, they will reevaluate whether this is something that will indeed be pushed out to the rest of the state. That said, I put my direct phone number in this report in case any of your constituents are having difficulties. Please have them call me directly. We will get into the system and find out what the issue is and help them through whatever it is that they need. So I wanted you to have that information and have that resource. Last couple of things, Jackson YouthNet, we have been working with a group of committed community members around the process of keeping our older foster children and delinquent youth out of residential care, particularly because it costs so much, and because it's just not a really great place for children to be raised. And so we're getting to the point now of actually putting some strategies in place. We've done a lot of research and a lot of community engagement on how we can do better around this. So we're hoping that within the next 6 to 12 months, we will see less children in residential placement, and the county will see those costs go down. I say that because while we hope to see the costs go down, we also hope that the county will be able to reinvest some of that money into the work that we're doing so that we can maintain it, so that we can keep costs down and children where they need to be. Our child care fund, we are on track with regard to the current budget year. And then, as always, I attach a community collaboration attachment, which shows the things that I am involved in or my staff are involved in the community to support your constituents. And with that, I will end and ask if you have any questions.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's afternoon now.
Yes.
It was morning. Well, thank you for the report, and happy to see you this morning, like I said earlier. I've got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
First question, both regarding the universal caseload.
Okay.
First question is, how many other counties in Michigan are doing the universal caseload?
That's a great question. Do you know exactly how many right offhand? There is 8 northern counties, and they are called the Great 8. Jackson, Genesee, there's I would say 10 to 15 maybe, not a whole bunch, are doing universal caseloads right now, but I can get you an exact number. Jackson and Genesee counties are the largest counties that are involved, so most of them are the smaller rural counties in the state, and the way that it works is they're put together into one region. So like up north, you might have people who live in Alpena, have someone in Traverse City doing their casework.
Okay.
Whereas in Jackson, we're big enough that we're doing only Jackson casework.
Okay. My next question is, have you received any feedback from other places how this is working?
It is the same in every UCL county.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if it's bigger than us like Genesee or smaller than us like the up north counties, they're all having the same struggles.
Yeah.
Part of the difficulty is that we sort of had the perfect storm back in October, so more counties became live with universal caseload. Our central scan system, so now all of our clients send everything to Lansing and it's scanned in, we're paperless. That system was supposed to be upgraded, and at the point that they flipped the switch to upgrade, it didn't work. And when they checked it out, the company said, well, you have this and this and this, right, Department of Health and Human Services? And they said, no, we have this and this. You didn't tell us we needed that third part. And so it took months to get that caught up to where it needed to be. And then at the same time, it was the energy season. So it started getting cold, and people started having issues and needing help with their energy bills, which brings in double the work into the county. So all of those things were happening at the same time, and it got us into a bad spot in the UCL counties. And so, again, we're getting caught up. We're doing much, much better now, but there are still long waits right now. I think the plan was to have it caught up by the end of March or middle of April, so that we could really take a look at how it's working as a whole.
Yeah, I've got nothing but bad feedback on universal caseload from people on the opposite side of the spectrum, and I know it probably has to be super stressful for you guys as well in the office. So my last question is, just from your experience with how things have gone, and I'm sure by that time that they look to reevaluate things, it'll probably be less phone calls, because hopefully we'll
Right.
see spring and
Right.
the heating situation will reduce by that time. But I'm curious, just from your experience, how you feel about if they do decide to continue doing it. What would your recommendation be if you had to choose to opt in or opt out of doing universal caseload?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love the idea of it, and if the goals can be reached, I think it can be really great. If they can't staff us at a level that we can meet the goals of the program, then I would probably opt to go back, just because as hard as we keep trying, we have, as you indicated, both stressed out clients and stressed out staff, and that doesn't make for a great combination. And so if we could do it the other way until we could get it right, I would probably want to do that. They won't necessarily ask me that, though, you know.
I think that was really brave of you to put your phone number on there, too.
It's okay. I'll take it. We'll get the calls and we'll get it to where they need to be.
I think that people will appreciate knowing that you guys are trying to go to that level to continue to provide support during this time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for the report.
Sure.
My question's in regards to the Business Resource Network. With the labor market tightening, that sounds like a really good asset to area employers. My question is, how does a company go about getting enrolled in it, and is there a cost associated with it to them?
So I would say contact Ebony Worthy at the United Way, or you could also contact me and I would get you there. The initial cost that we asked for businesses to participate was, I think, $7,000 to $10,000 a year. But with the new Michigan Works funding, they're looking at how they can reduce those costs for the businesses, because Michigan Works has a pot of money that needs to be spent. So I think for the next couple of years, it could be a little bit lower than that.
Okay, and that leads me to my last question, which is, what specific resources are available to the business at that cost? Is it purely informational, or are there other services you provide?
Our success coaches divide up their time between the businesses and are on site at the business. So they're there for individual interaction. Again, somebody comes in and they're having an issue that morning, or they have set up, so we're setting up things like financial stability training, how to reduce your credit score for your employees, things that will, again, sort of help them stay on the upside of being employed. They can get into our system and do work. So if, say, somebody needs a vehicle repair, that is something a lot of people don't know we can help with vehicle repairs, but that is something that we can help with if they meet the financial needs.
So you can help them financially, literally?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
And the success coaches can get right in the system, get that application taken care of, and get that taken care of pretty quickly. And then he has access to all of the other resources in the community and is able to connect people.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Zoe? Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the Health Department.
Afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
You have my report, of course, in board docs. I'll touch on a few things and highlight a few items that I have in here. Our learning management system, we've talked about that a couple of times, and our intention with that particular system for our staff is to go live with our annual training plan on February 14th. It is live now. I'm getting a lot of positive comments from staff, too. They really are liking the interface and the content of that system for training. The interview of 3 candidates for my position took place on March 8th, and it went okay. We have in-person interviews scheduled for March 20th, which Mike will participate in with us. Henry Ford Health System, and locally here, Allegiance Health has an annual Research Day Symposium that they do in our community. Most of the time, the content is kind of medical research focused and projects and programs that they're trying to do within the health system. But we also, because of my relationship with them, I try to bring them something that's more community-based research. In this particular case, we're going to do an abstract with them on the study of the uninsured in Jackson County that was done through the Insurance Gap Work Group, which we've previously talked about at these meetings, and I've shared that executive summary with you. So we're excited to be able to do that with them. I've also been working on a cancer outcome measures project, which is really tied to the Jackson Health Network and their clinically integrated network quality measures. What we're trying to do overall with this project is to monitor and track screening rates, the stage at diagnosis for cancer, and mortality rates visually within their scorecard. So it kind of moves us forward, if you will, with a measurement system of interest to public health in the community as well as the healthcare providers. And also, we want them to be able to display as well the smoking rates that are at a practice level or at the overall Jackson Health Network level. That data is probably more valuable than anything else we can get our hands on, because when data is self-reported, there's a certain amount of bias associated with that. But on the clinical side, the data is probably a lot more concrete, definitive, and accurate. So we're looking forward to that. In the health department, we kind of took the lead for all health departments in the state of Michigan to do a study, if you will, of the funding of the hearing and vision program that we operate in the health department. For commissioners who are relatively new to the board, we do about 17,000 screens per year. These are done in a school-based environment. And as of today, we only have the ability to bill Medicaid for the screening services for children 3 to 6 years of age. So that's only up through the first grade. And we do hearing or vision screening all the way up through the 4th and the 9th grades of school. And we're advocating that the state allow us to bill for those services because it'll help fund the program and also free up other resources that we have now at our disposal in the health department to use for other things that are also public health priorities. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that it was cut off between ages 3 to 6, but it's probably historical, and I suspect that it just has never been looked at the way that we've looked at it. It was the proposal to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services was approved today with minor enhancing edits through our state association board, and so it's going to be submitted to MDHHS probably within the next 2 weeks, and we're hoping they'll respond positively to that. We did receive a total of $25,000 in hepatitis A outreach vaccination funding, so we'll be continuing that work in the community. And we've had the most success with this particular effort in the Jackson County jails through the Interfaith Shelter Drop-In Center and a few other locations in the community. I think we've probably given over 900 vaccinations at this point in time to people at risk for hepatitis A in our community. So it's been kind of a nice thing to be able to do to increase the immunization rate for hepatitis A. Under environmental health, we've talked previously about the PFAS problem at the former Michener plating plant. There's lots of acronyms associated with all of this kind of stuff. I tried to spell all of them that I could find that were in the attachment as well. These chemical compounds have been used globally during the past century in manufacturing, firefighting, and thousands of common household and consumer products. They're persistent in the environment. They don't break down. And experts have become increasingly concerned about the potential effects of high concentrations on human health. So I did attach for you the most recent testing results that we received through our interaction with MDEQ, and I basically have kind of quickly summarized within this particular paragraph of my monthly report what it's telling us. And so basically the results show that while the concentrations of PFAS on site exceeded standards, both in the groundwater and the water in the basement, the concentrations of PFAS in the samples collected from the Grand River are below water quality standards. That's because they're using the combination of PFOS and PFOA as the standard for the river. You can see from the actual testing results that the range of total PFAS, if you will, that's been detected at the site has been everywhere from about 1,800 to probably over 6,000. And that is a combination of both in the basement of the building, 3 locations, as well as in groundwater monitoring wells that already exist outside the plant. The DEQ is planning additional sampling of the river in 2019. Just as a reminder, in Washtenaw County, portions of the Huron River have already been designated as no fish eating consumption zones because of their contamination problem over there. I don't know if that'll happen here, but it's a possibility. And DEQ is also going to do a flyover with a drone with infrared imaging. And their purpose for doing that on the river is to be able to tell, is the water flowing in from groundwater into the river, or is water in the river going the other direction? And the infrared imaging can tell them which way it's moving because the temperature of the water is different in the river than it is in the ground and the groundwater flow. So that's why they're going to do that work. I think we can be pretty confident that it's probably flowing into the river from groundwater around the plant. There isn't an indication at this point in time that there are PFAS concerns south of the plant, meaning is it coming from some other location? There's been no indication of that so far. I don't think I'm necessarily ruling that out. But anyway, that's what we have in front of us today. I think the ultimate solution, probably down the road, to eliminating the concentrations in groundwater is a system, if you will, that can strip it out of groundwater. It's probably going to be a charcoal-based system if these are considered bad enough to need to remove it. And that will prevent groundwater that contains it from flowing into the river. And as far as the basement is concerned, that's contained, not really going anywhere, so it can be removed and properly disposed of. So that's where we're at today with PFAS and the other chemical compounds of concern. I also included some information for you on the Fisher Trailer Park in Napoleon Township. As you may know, it's a small park located down there. Relatively recent ownership change to Canadian has created massive number of problems in the trailer park. There are about 12 people in the park right now. The issues and concerns range from problems with accumulated debris and trash, frozen potable water supply pipes, problems with power being on, power being off, physical deterioration of the trailers, inadequate monitoring of the water supply system under DEQ requirements, unpaid property taxes, unlicensed status of the trailer with Laura, and physical and mental health needs of residents, and some people really living in extreme poverty in that particular trailer park. Based on all these problems and that we identified, we felt we didn't have any choice but to condemn the park as far as being habitable for humans. And we've been working very closely with Zoe and her staff to coordinate and with other social service agencies in the community to help those people find new locations where they can set up housekeeping. We have another meeting scheduled for the team that's been working on this at the Health Department with DEQ and MDHHS and the Township on March 13th. I don't necessarily think everybody will be absolutely out of the park by the 13th. That was the deadline we set. There are still some issues to work through. But we're working as effectively as we can with everybody to help get them out of the park. And Napoleon Township will take basically kind of physical control of the park at a future point in time and prevent further access and monitor it from a law enforcement perspective. That's everything I have for you today, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Richard? Darius?
Thank you. Do we have any place for these individuals that are going to eventually be displaced for this time?
Well,
Are there any plans in place on any of this?
Everybody that's down in the park received notice of the condemnation order. They knew that it was coming, and we've been coordinating with MDHHS. Most of the calls that I think have come from the park residents are going to MDHHS for the assistance that they're looking for.
Okay.
For housing assistance, but also Community Action Agency and the Jackson Housing Commission are engaged as well.
Okay. And how long were they notified?
They got at
how
least,
much notice, I'm sorry?
They got at least 2 weeks' notice before the order was issued, but we've been working down there for nearly 12 months.
Oh, okay.
With the township.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all
You're
I have.
welcome.
Any other questions?
No.
Corey?
Yeah, my concern's similar to Commissioner Williams, just the people. And I would just urge that we stay in contact with each and every one of them and make sure that they have an adequate place to go.
Yep.
The weather's breaking, but still, you don't want to see anybody displaced. Right. And even though they got notice, that's still relatively short. And with them not having adequate funds, some of them, I don't know if they even have access to a cell phone to get a hold of some of these agencies. I think we should really take action and make sure that they have a place to go.
That's our primary objective.
Okay.
Yep.
Richard, one question. With the vision and hearing screens that you do, what's the yield on that? How many abnormalities or diagnoses?
Oddly enough, and we're a little bit kind of an outlier on this in the state, and we don't quite know why, but about 18% of the kids that we screen for vision are identified as having an abnormal screen. And it's about maybe 4 to 6% on the hearing side.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you for a thorough report, Richard.
Sorry, just no question, just a comment right quick. I just wanted to say thank you for that follow-up information on the bed bugs. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Okay, that brings us to the MSU Extension Semi-Annual Report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Have a few highlights to share with you about programming's happening at MSU Extension recently and ongoing. Really pleased that we're starting a new Master Gardener class. The first class was last week. That's a 14-week series that's going on. Master Gardener classes have been held in Jackson County since 1978, so we're glad that that tradition continues. Last year, there were 85 Master Gardener alumni who put in over 4,000 volunteer hours for local projects. One of the things that's a change to note about that is that now with the Master Gardener class, all program participants go through the same volunteer screening process that our 4-H volunteers go through, so that they can serve in any capacity in the county as a volunteer, because they've had background checks, interviews, reference checks, all of those things that our 4-H volunteers do, something that we're doing to enhance that program. And so our new class of 33 Master Gardeners will go through that same process ongoing. So some of the projects that they've been working on are youth gardening education, demonstration garden maintenance at Dahlem Conservancy. They do seminars at libraries, beautification projects, and spring gardening conference and garden tours. We really have an emphasis with our Master Gardener volunteers on working on educational programs and not just doing community gardening projects, which is great. We want them involved in those things too, but we really want them to use the knowledge that they've gained in the Master Gardener program and share that with others as a part of the ongoing education of being a Master Gardener volunteer. Related to some emergency response things, I've reported on some of these before. Tom Guthrie's been here before reporting on some of this as well, but we're continuing to do emergency response for livestock transportation accidents. You may have heard recently in the news there was just a livestock hauler down near the Kalamazoo area, west of Kalamazoo a ways, that was involved in a semi-rollover, and there were 30 animals that were out on the expressway as a part of that accident in the last couple of weeks. And so we're continuing to work with first responders, animal control officers and the like to teach them proper livestock animal handling. Many of them are familiar with household animals, but not so much with livestock. So working on continuing that training to get those skills built up so that they're able to work through those issues. Doing some online training with that as well. And then so developing new materials throughout the rest of this year and into next year so we can continue that training. Mike Metzger working with small ruminants, so things like sheep, goats, llamas, alpacas, things of that nature, but mostly sheep and goats. Mike's been doing some small ruminant birthing management clinics. Right now is the time when most of our baby lambs and goats are being born, so it's a good time for producers to get a refresher and learn some new tips and techniques. So he's been doing some programming on that at the MSU sheep farm, but producers from Jackson County have participated in that program as well. So it gives them some hands-on opportunities to work with the animals themselves, get additional experiences, learn some new, as I said, new techniques on handling animals and ear tagging and the like, and also some newborn critical care management and triage as well. And then actually, just this past weekend, there was a Small Ruminants for Small Farms event at MSU that happened that Mike was a part of teaching that as well. And so with that, I'm going to turn things over to Angela Maniaci to talk to you a little bit about our nutrition programs, and then Brittany will follow up with some 4-H information.
Hello, I'm Angela, and for those of you that don't know, I work for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistant Program funded by the USDA. So I teach nutrition education around the county, everyone from 4 years old and up. And I focus a lot on not just nutrition education and the importance of eating healthy, but also connecting people to food resources. And we talk about budgeting food dollars, a lot of group discussion involved in that, and brainstorming through the community to help them to eat a little bit better and also move a little bit more. So I do have a couple updates even since I sent this PowerPoint in, so we're constantly changing in extension. This fiscal year, our fiscal year starts October 1st. I've already reached, it's actually 271 youth and 62 adults through direct education series. We do usually 6 classes or lessons in a row. And then also I've done some one-time presentations, 49 adults and 57 youth, and that's over 100 adults and youth reached since October. I do have a few new partners I wanted to kind of highlight. I did a program with Highfields, their after-school program. Rise Above, the expelled or long-term suspended teenagers. We're doing teen cooking class with them. The Salvation Army as well, youth, they've got kids of all ages that we'll be working with. And then one that I recently have that's not on here is also the Samaritas refugee population, the unaccompanied minors. We're also doing teen cooking with them to teach them life skills. Some adult or senior partners, Lifeways. Lifeways and I are anticipating that we're going to partner pretty extensively, as well as with our diabetes prevention programs that my coworker Andrea teaches. So we should have a lot of collaboration there in the future. Disability Connections, I'll be at 3 library branches this year, at least through the summer. And then also the Jackson County Parolees. We started a nutrition class with them as well, and incorporating a lot of hands-on nutrition or cooking skills in that class, and then connecting them with food resources, benefits, and teaching them some life skills that hopefully they can carry with them. One of the newest curricula that I've been trained in and I'm teaching this year is teen cuisine. So teaches them the basics of healthy eating and physical activity, a lot of hands-on activities for the kids. We even include nutrition facts, reading, and then measuring properly, grading, chopping, sauteing, what everything means, and of course food safety along those lines too. And we always prepare a dish or a snack together in that class. So some of my kids from Highfields practicing their chopping. There are some cool plastic knives that we have for them, for some of the younger kids. A couple of successes. The youth, I've had a really good success with the youth lately, enjoying these new foods and combinations of foods. I try to bring them things that are still really budget friendly, but are maybe something new that they haven't had before. So for example, putting zucchini and vegetables into quesadillas has worked really well. Exposing them to banana chips and jicama, which is a root vegetable, for those that don't know. That's my chickpea salad that went over really well in a 4th grade classroom pictured there. The adults, I hear a lot of the time that they are eating more like fruit with the cream cheese dip that we'll make in class together, so they're able to kind of curb their sweet tooth a little bit. And then I hear a lot that people are switching to purchasing whole grain breads and tortillas, or trying whole wheat pasta for just even the first time. It happens a lot in my class. And more dark leafy greens and adding vegetables to their meals has been a common theme since the beginning of the fiscal year. Any questions? Or should we do questions at the end? Yeah.
Just curious if you got a car.
I do, yes. Sure, okay.
I can also give you contact info. Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany James. I'm the 4-H program coordinator. I'm excited actually to see some new faces on the board. A couple of familiar faces perhaps, but new to the board. And I also need to comment on the fact that I'm really, and then I'm clicking on things. But I'm also really excited about the board's enthusiasm that the weather is going to change. So I do appreciate your enthusiasm. We need that. So I thought I'd touch a little bit on some of the new initiatives that we're working on. Most of you know us for the animals at the fair, and we have about 500 year-long members within the program. But actually, through one-time events, short-term series, we actually reach about 2,800 participants each year. Another thing that's really great is that we've been working on trying to diversify our clubs, trying to add some non-traditional projects, and so actually through our outreach and everything, we've actually grown the number of clubs that we have by 25%. Jackson historically has clubs we have a fewer number of clubs that have a lot of kids in it, so we're trying to give kids a better experience and a more personalized experience by adding different projects through those new clubs. So through that, we're actually adding new programming opportunities. We actually have rocketry for the first time. We have a club that's actually doing that. And we have a geology club, so if you know anyone, it's actually going to be downtown here this, I think we're starting at the end of this month. So if you know anyone interested, we'd love to have kids join, and entomology as well. Last year, I talked a little bit about a new program assistant that we hired. We wrote a grant and actually received the funding through our foundation to get a part-time program assistant to focus on expansion. We actually got that renewed for another year. This Saturday, we actually went to the Jackson Junior Welfare League Gala. If you've ever been, it's a good time. It's pretty entertaining, but it's their fundraiser for their community grants. And we actually received a $5,000 grant through that organization, which we are using we're using it to actually fund some programming within the schools, 6-week programs, and doing stuff in the city of Jackson. And then my last plug is for, if you know anyone who's interested in looking for a part-time summer job, we've found some funding to hire some AmeriCorps members, and the idea is that they'll be doing short-term programming throughout the summer. It comes with a stipend, a living stipend, as well as educational funding as well. So those are a few of our new projects, but as always, I'm willing to entertain questions about the new stuff or any of the existing stuff.
Questions, Commissioner?
Oh, I love this picture.
For your, just a little hint for your geology group.
Yeah.
Denise's father-in-law, Clarence,
Oh.
is the charter member, the last living charter member of the General Mineral Society of Jackson County, and their show is next Saturday at Jackson County Fairgrounds.
That'd be a good opportunity for some recruitment. Yeah, we actually have an actual geologist that's leading the club, so I'm really excited about it.
Any other questions? Thank you for the
Thank you.
report. Return to the court.
Bring up the, where'd it go? I lost your screen, sorry. You got it?
Day for IT people.
So I always warn the IT people that we're social workers, so we're really good at breaking technology. So my name is Sarah Anderson. I'm the Jackson County Front of the Court Director. Nice to meet some of you for the first time. Again, I apologize. My agenda item went on a different time frame, but I knew I was supposed to be here, so I was here. This year marks the 100-year anniversary for the Friend of the Court. A little fun fact that we've been around for 100 years and have definitely changed over the last 100 years. In my report, I'm a numbers person. I like to see the data over the course of the years, so I have lots of numbers for everyone. Some focus that we've had over the last year was to leverage technology, work with community partners, and look at whole family care. So we worked with technology in the form of Matterhorn software as well as our My Child Support website. So now we have the ability for clients to text us, for us to text them, remind them of hearings, to actually negotiate settlements for cases. Similarly to over in district court where someone might have a parking ticket and they don't want to take the time off work to go to court to resolve a parking ticket, we do the same thing for some of our child support hearings. So if someone is newly in their job and they have a child support hearing, there's an opportunity for them to text and resolve their hearing with one of the caseworkers as opposed to taking time away from work, be it the custodial parent or the non-custodial parent, to be able to resolve the issue. So what we're seeing with that is an increase in collections for our show cause hearings, which is fantastic. You can see on the bottom of the second page, we had over $80,000 in increased collections just with our show cause hearings. So we're very happy to see that. The other piece of it is that we really focused on real-time enforcement of the orders. So in the past, it was taking a very long time for clients to get services regarding to parenting time complaints. So they weren't having access to their children. They were having to wait weeks, if not months, which just prolongs the issue and makes matters worse for the child. So we worked on a way to fast track those to make sure that parents were getting access to their children. And what we saw over the course of time was we had a spike in our hearings and our spike in our enforcement because we were having to catch up and get everybody in real time, but now we are at a substantially lower number of parenting time enforcement hearings, and our parenting time complaints are going down. So that means that as a community, parents are getting access to their children, the complaint levels are down, we're doing better education right at the onset when we meet with parents in the beginning to remind them that the parenting time is just as important as anything else when it comes to our family.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
So I know that your report was added.
Yes.
But we don't have a copy of it. I guess my question would be to either the administrator or the chair.
If you go to,
It's in the public safety one.
yeah, it's,
Gotcha.
yep.
Okay,
That's the
I see. Okay, now I see what happened.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that'll make it easier for you to follow along if you have the information. Thank you. items number 3 and 4 with my agenda items are the Jackson County performance incentives. So those of you that are not aware, we are also funded through the federal government. 66% of our budget is reimbursed through that. And these are the measurements that they require. So support order percentage, how much we're collecting of a current support order. 40 paternity established, making sure that parents that have asked for services, asked for a support order, have a parent, a dad, attached to that order so that children know who both their parents are. The current support percentage, I actually had those two mixed up. So the support order percentage is the number of open cases with support orders attached, and then the current support percentage is the amount of support that we're collecting. The arrears case percentage is the amount of back child support that we are collecting. So as you can see from those numbers, we're getting there. We're not exactly where we need to be, but it's a huge measurement. Part of it is right-sizing orders, making sure that we are collecting the right amount so that families can be supported. It doesn't do any good to make a huge support obligation that no one can pay because it just creates more family problem. The items number 4, the contract performance standards. These are new standards that the Office of Child Support has provided for us as part of our contract with them. So you can see those are new. We just got those in the last year, so we're still trying to figure out the measurements on those, what's being asked of us, and how we can tweak our work performance to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can with those. We do have temporary agencies and the Families Forward demonstration still going on with our office. So every week we have access to temp agencies as well as free training opportunities for payers of support. So if someone wants to come in and wants a job, we have temp agencies that are there that will test them and get them in a job within the week. So, and we also work directly with Michigan Works to get emails of all the open positions in Jackson County. So anytime we meet with somebody and they've lost their job or they're looking, we provide them with those job-seeking information so that they can help get themselves employed as quickly as possible. Any questions? I know I went over a lot and you didn't exactly have it all in front of you at the time, but is there any questions? I stumped you. All right.
Thank you for a very excellent report, Sue.
Thank you.
I was just, I'm just hoping that we can have that last report emailed out, because I still don't see it under the public safety either. Oh, so it was moved in the middle. Okay, well then I would ask y'all to stop moving stuff around.
I thought Human Services, but I can go wherever.
8 o'clock meeting or the?
Take your pick.
Either way.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of clarification, just so that I understand, under other minutes, there are a couple items there. Do we need to approve those? Just for review? Okay, thank you.